I have a lot of questions. I don't know that I'm going to be able to get to all of them in the 5 minutes, but I would like to first talk about the student loan income-driven repayment plans. So that for federal students, the borrowers can apply for income-driven repayment plans, which use the borrower's supposedly their income, their taxable income, and their family size to determine what the pay rate is. GAO recommended that the Department of Education obtain data to verify income information for borrowers that were reporting zero income on income-driven repayment applications. What's been the result of that recommendation?
Due to implementation of our recommendations, the Congress had given education the authority to use IRS data to verify income if the applicants for the income-driven payment program would agree to allow them their tax data to be accessed by IRS. That was part of the law.
Wouldn't that be a tacit consent if they're making the application that they understand that their data would be accessed?
No, they have to give permission in order to do it. There are criminal penalties for IRS sharing tax data without appropriate authority. So that was a safeguard put into place. So that's in place now. But what isn't in place is for the people who don't agree to have their tax data accessed.
Right.
What is education going to do to verify their income? Now, they can get commercial sources. There are plenty available for that. They can use the, if they get authority from the Congress, the new hire database that the HHS, Health and Human Services, has. It has the most up-to-date wage information for people in the country. It's used for child enforcement purposes, but it can be used. That's what we used when we compared that data to what people had put in their applications at education. That's where we found 95,000 plans were reporting zero income, but that data showed that that wasn't necessarily the case.
So what does the Department of Education have the authority, if they were to be able to get this private sector data and compare that with the claims?
Sure.
And then if you have incongruency, then what would the next steps be? Could they require at that point or deny them unless they provide their tax forms?
They could provide additional support.
And is that happening?
We don't know yet. We're going to look at this. This is just newly implemented. You know, there was a pause during the COVID for people in the repayment of their income-driven payment plan. So that's just started up most recently. So, and people have to recertify every year. So we're going to look at this and see what they're doing at the Education Department to handle this particular gap.
And then I have two more questions. One, I was intrigued by the discussion about our universities and your recommendations to secure make sure that our intellectual property, the security of the United States is protected at our research facilities. And it sounds like that there are some recommendations that will require steps from Congress. Can you elaborate on that?
I'm not sure. Yeah, our recommendations really were to the executive branch, is what I thought, that there be more efforts on to determine foreign ownership and control or influence over these particular areas. Now, what we found is that some agencies were doing a good job in using intelligence information and others, but there was no sharing going on across the government. So one agency might be making a grant to the same place, then our agency wouldn't do so because they had concerns and had additional information. So we asked the Office of Science, Technology, and Policy in the White House, which is supposed to put out government-wide guidance on this, to put out better guidance so there's more thorough vetting ahead of time, because the agencies have a lot of questions.
And then within my short time, this is a big question.
All right.
You mentioned that there's potential saving opportunities with the Medicaid systems that for states to modernize. Can you elaborate on those and if there's any action we need to take in Congress?
Yeah, I think the main action is oversight. I think the Medicaid program needs a lot more oversight about what's going on. For example, they estimate there was $50 billion in improper payments last year, but it's mostly in the fee-for-service portion. In the Medicaid Advantage portion, which, as you know, is almost half of the amount of spending now in Medicaid, there's really not very good auditing of what's going on in the Medicare Advantage program. We've encouraged, and CMS has started to do more audits over there, and they're finding some of the same overpayment problems and preliminary estimates in that area. But Congress can do a lot more. Also, Congress can require that any Medicaid demonstration, about half of Medicaid spending right now is because the states came to the federal government and they said, you know, we want to try this new process, and if we do so, we think we could better serve the public.
Waiver program.
Waiver, yeah, exactly, the waiver program. But the waiver program was supposed to be budget neutral, so it wasn't supposed to cost more money, and it has, big time. And so we're allowing waivers that are costing more, and they're not really, in many cases, demonstrating the benefits.
Better outcome for the
Better
patients.
outcomes, exactly. So that program, and it's fast growing. It's fast growing. So I think it's always used to help during economic downturns and other things. We have a recommendation that Congress act to provide during economic downturns a formula that would be put in place to more timely provide assistance, you know, during high periods of unemployment for people that would then require Medicaid, be more efficient and effective than some of the approaches Congress uses in times of economic crisis.